Today we'll cover how Europe rebuilt itself after Napoleon's downfall. The Congress of Vienna of 1815, where key decisions were made to reshape Europe. We'll also cover the restoration of old monarchs under the Principle of Legitimacy. Also, what is Principle of Legitimacy? How the great powers worked to prevent further aggression from France, the division of territories among the victors, and how they aimed to maintain the balance of power across Europe. Let's discuss each one of them with the help of a story. After the chaos of Napoleon's reign, Europe was left in pieces. The old order had collapsed, and the time had come to rebuild. In 1814, the major powers of Europe gathered in Vienna, hoping to restore peace and order to a continent torn apart by years of war. This gathering, known as the Congress of Vienna, lasted from September 1814 to June 1815. It brought together Austria, Britain, Russia, Prussia, and France. These nations were tasked with creating a new European balance, one that would prevent further conflict and ensure lasting peace. The first major issue on the table was the restoration of old monarchs. The idea was simple. Under the Principle of Legitimacy, the monarchs who had been overthrown by Napoleon should be returned to power. This was seen as the best way to restore stability across Europe. The Principle of Legitimacy was championed by two key figures at the Congress: Metternich of Austria and Talleyrand of France. They argued that hereditary monarchs were the only ones who could bring order after the chaos of revolution. The idea was to put Europe back on its old footing. But the Principle of Legitimacy had limits. Not every monarchy could be restored. In some cases, like in Germany, it was impossible to return to the old ways. The German Confederation replaced the old patchwork of 300 states, and it was replaced by 39 states loosely united under the German Confederation. Austria played a huge role here, controlling much of the decision-making. But the principle worked in places like France, Spain, and parts of Italy, where old monarchs were restored to their thrones. Next, the Congress had to deal with the question of French aggression. After the chaos of Napoleon's rule, the rest of Europe feared future aggression from France. The Congress didn't want France to rise again and threaten the peace of Europe. So the powers decided to strengthen the countries surrounding France. The Kingdom of the Netherlands was created by combining the Austrian Netherlands, Belgium, and Holland. This was meant to act as a buffer to protect against French expansion. Holland, with its strategic position and history of resistance to France, became a strong counterbalance on France's northern border. At the same time, Austria, after losing control of the Austrian Netherlands, gained Lombardy and Venetia in Italy. Prussia took control of the Rhine provinces, placing a stronger Prussian presence on the border with France. This meant that Prussia could now help defend the Rhine, securing Europe from future French threats. Now, one of the most contentious issues at the Congress was the division of territories among the victors. In particular, Poland and Saxony were at the heart of disputes. Tsar Alexander I of Russia wanted all of Poland that Napoleon had given to the Grand Duchy of Warsaw. He demanded that the entire region be handed over to Russia. The Prussians were okay with this, but they wanted Saxony as compensation. This led to a serious quarrel among the great powers. At this crucial point, the French diplomat Talleyrand intervened. He saw an opportunity to bring France back into European politics, even though it had been defeated. He formed an alliance with Austria, Britain, and France, which threatened Russia and Prussia with war if they didn't back down. In the end, this helped to prevent an even greater conflict and allowed the balance of power to remain intact. Then came the dramatic moment when Napoleon escaped from Elba in March 1815. His return to France sent shockwaves through Europe. The Congress had been meeting for months, but Napoleon's return to power brought everything to a halt. The delegates quickly reconvened, and the peace agreement was signed on the 9th of March 1815, before the Battle of Waterloo. This was a defining moment at the Congress, showing how quickly things could change and the urgent need for unity among the great powers. Now, the final goal of the Congress was to maintain the balance of power. This was a key idea in the 18th century diplomacy, aimed at preventing any single state from becoming too powerful. The Congress worked to make sure that no one nation could dominate Europe like Napoleon had done. The idea was to spread power evenly across the continent, so that if one nation became too strong, the others could come together to counterbalance it. Russia gained Finland and parts of Poland, while Prussia received Saxony, the Duchy of Westphalia, and Swedish Pomerania. Austria gained Lombardy and Venetia in Italy, while Britain secured naval bases like Heligoland, Malta, and Ceylon. Each of the great powers took what they could to strengthen their position, but no one nation could dominate Europe completely. However, the Congress wasn't without its flaws. While it successfully restored peace to Europe, it ignored the rising forces of liberalism and nationalism that were sweeping across the continent. Smaller nations like the Italians, Poles, and Germans were left dissatisfied. The Congress failed to address their desires for independence and self-rule. This would later lead to revolutions, like the ones in 1830 and 1848, when people would rise up to demand their rights. Despite these shortcomings, the Congress of Vienna succeeded in maintaining peace in Europe for nearly a century. However, the balance of power that was created also set the stage for future conflicts. The rise of Prussia and the unification of Germany would challenge this balance in the years to come, eventually leading to the two world wars that shaped the 20th century. The Congress of Vienna was a pivotal moment in European history. It brought peace after decades of war, but it also sowed the seeds for future conflict. It showed that even the best-laid plans can have unforeseen consequences. And while it was successful in preventing a major European war for years, it couldn't stop the forces of change that would reshape the continent in the years to come.